the fabric. This is the center front. I will make sure that I place it on the folded part of the fabric. So that is why your center front will be on fold. So you place it on the folded parts, and you can use a pin to hold it in place, and you make sure that you do not have too much fabric on the other side so that you will not waste your fabric. And this pattern is without allowance, so I'm going to shift the fabric so that I will be able to add my allowance all round. So here I'm pinning the fabric in place, so and I make sure that the space I have at the side can accommodate my seam allowance. So at the hop here, if you want to add lining to your skirt, you can add half inch up so that you use the half inch as your seam, as your sewing allowance. But if you don't want to add lining, if you just want to sew it straight, here I added 1 inch. So this 1 inch is for folding because I want to fold twice. And also, if you want to add band to your skirt, half inch is just okay to serve as your joining allowance. So here at the side, I want to add 1 inch as well. So I added 1 inch to my side allowance, and also at the hemline, I added 1.5 inches. So I added 1.5 inches at the hemline for the hem allowance. So here I'm connecting the allowance together so that I can cut on my chalk. So because I told us that you can either add your allowance to your pattern while drafting, or you add it while transferring to the fabric. And you can see the center front here that there is no allowance and is not in pieces, is on fold. So here I've cut out my front pattern, you can see. So the next thing for me now is to notch. So I'm notching on the hemline so that I will quickly identify or remember how many allowance I added. And at the center front also I notched. So I will set it aside and cut the back. So this is the back. Unlike the front, the center back is going to be in pieces. I will cut 2 pieces. I will cut 2 pieces for the back. So at the center back, I will have it in pieces. So I will add my zipper allowance. It depends on you. You can add 1, you can add 1.5, you can add 2 inches. Depends on you. But mind you, whatever you add for the front, whatever allowance you add for the front should also be the same you are going to add for the back pieces. So here at the center back, I added 1 inch for my zip allowance. So the other ones, the side seam for the front, I added 1 inch, and also I'm adding 1 inch for the back. So I've successfully added my allowance, so I'm cutting it out now. So after cutting, I will also notch. Notching helps you to quickly identify your cloth by the time you remove your pattern. If you did not notch, you might mistakenly take the center back for the side back by the time you remove your pattern. So here now I've notched the center back, so I'm also notching on the cloth so that I will quickly remember how many allowance I added. So that is the essence of the notching. So you notch. So you can see that I only notch on the center back. I did not notch on the side back. So this will make me identify the center back from the side back. So you notch also. I notch the hemline as well. So after you do this, you will just remove your pattern, you will unpin it, then you will go and sew it on your machine. So here I want to sew it, so I place the front on the back. So I will just sew on that 1 inch that I added. So I'm doing the same thing to the other side. And also here, when you get to your sewing machine, you will not start sewing from the up. You use your zipper to measure what you want to sew, then you start your sewing after where your zip will stop. Then you will not sew all through as well. You put a little bit of slit so that your clients can walk. So I want to sew it now. So this is it. I placed one back pieces. I place it on the other, on the side fronts. So I want to sew it together. You can see the center front now, that the center back. You can see that the center back is the place that I notched. So I did not notch on the side back. So I placed the side back and the side fronts together. So I want to sew on 1 inch. Remember, I notched that part as well. So that will guide me in sewing. And you can also measure what you have. So I want to sew it down. I'm sewing on 1 inch all the way down. So you can chalk this, and you can also use your tape measure. So I'm done joining the 2 sides. So this is what I have. I will now close it at the center back. So to close it at the center back, remember we added 1 inch for our folding allowance at the up. So you let your zipper start after that 1 inch. So I'm just using the zip to note where I'm going to start sewing. So once I place the zip, so I will start sewing 1 inch before the closing of the zip. So I will start my sewing from that place. So you start sewing from that place all the way down, and you will not sew it through, so that your clients can walk in the skirt, so that the skirts will have a slit. So you can stop like 5 inches before the hem line, so that your clients can walk very well. Your clients can be comfortable in the skirt. So you can see I stop 5 inches after the hem line that I added. So 5 inches. So that is where I will stop my stitches. And you can also ask your client also, or depends on your preference. So here I'm done joining. I will now fix my zip. So to fix my zip, remember there is 1 inch allowance for folding. So I will place that 1 inch. I'll place that zip right after the 1 inch. Then I will sew also on 1 inch, because it is 1 inch that I added for my zipper allowance. So after sewing, after placing it, I will just use a pin to hold it in place, so that it will not move or shake from that point. So I will sew it. So I've successfully installed my zip. So the next thing for me is to fold on this hem line that the waistline, I added 1 inch. So I'll just sew it. I will fold it twice. I will fold half inch. I'll fold half inch twice. So I've folded it twice, then I will sew it all the way down. So after that, this is what I have. So this is what I have. Then I will sew the hem line as well. We added 1.5 to the hem line. So I will fold. Then I will also fold the slits. I will also fold the slits area as well. So this is the skirt. Can you see the shape? Can you see the hem line of the shape? And the waistline. Can you see how curvy it is? So this is the skirt.